The idea that we are facing the end of Xbox sounds disturbing, but the facts have fueled the debate. Xbox Series X and S have had the shortest generation in terms of historical sales. Only 28.3 million units sold as of June 2024, compared to 61.7 million PS5s. This gap is evident everywhere. In Europe, Xbox sales fell 48% in 2024, twice the decline of the PS5. At the same time, strategic changes and controversial cancellations have put the brand under scrutiny. Are we really facing the end of Xbox, or just a radical transformation? Since 2013, Microsoft has lagged behind Sony in the console war. The latest market analysis reveals that by mid-2024, the cumulative figures will be very different. Xbox Series X and S, approximately 28.3 million versus PS5, approximately 61.7 million. In fact, in the last fiscal year, only about 7 million additional Xbox consoles were sold, starting from an official 21 million in June 2023, while Sony sold 20.8 million PS5s in its 2023 fiscal year. All consoles suffer a decline after the peak of the generation, but Xbox does so with disproportionate force. In Europe in 2024, sales of Series X and S fell by 48%, versus minus 20% for PS5 and 15% for Switch. Even in the United States, Xbox reported a record year of declines. The result is clear: Microsoft has not dominated the hardware market. In response, the company has turned its consoles into mere devices in a broader ecosystem. Satya Nadella himself noted in July 2025 that, although Series X remains very powerful, hardware revenue fell 22% in the last quarter. This contrasts with the growth in content revenue, Game Pass first-party games up 13%. In short, the figures show a relative decline in Xbox as a console sales platform, fueling the sense of crisis in the traditional hardware business. Microsoft has shifted its focus to services. Xbox Game Pass is now its trump card. At the beginning of 2024, it reported 34 million subscribers, a figure that has not been publicly updated since then. In the latest quarterly report, Nadella boasted that Game Pass generated nearly $5 billion in annual revenue. In theory, this represents significant added value for users and a recurring revenue stream for Microsoft. However, the subscription model has its critics. A leaked internal report estimated that Game Pass cost Microsoft about $300 million in direct sales of Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, as 82% of full-price copies were sold on PS5, where there is no Game Pass. In addition, analysts warn that Game Pass has not grown as fast as Microsoft expected. Recent price increases for Game Pass Ultimate in 2024 and 2025 have caused discontent among the community, reducing the free advertising that attracted gamers. In short, Game Pass is now at the heart of Xbox's strategy, but its real impact remains under scrutiny. Although it drives the ecosystem, it raises doubts about the profitability of traditional retail sales. Instability has also reached Xbox game studios. In May 2024, Microsoft announced the closure of studios acquired from ZeniMax. Arcane Austin, developer of Redfall, Tango Gameworks, Hi-Fi Rush, and Alpha Dog Games, Mighty Doom, as well as the dissolution of Roundhouse Studios. These decisions were justified as an effort to prioritize high-impact titles and focus on Bethesda franchises. At the same time, several games in development were canceled. The ambitious studio The Initiative, responsible for Perfect Dark, was closed, and the Perfect Dark reboot was canceled. Rare abandoned Everwild, and ZeniMax Online suspended an unannounced game. This wave followed the layoff of 1,900 Xbox and Activision employees in January 2024, approximately 8% of the division. Phil Spencer admitted in an internal memo that these cuts were necessary to align strategy and cost following the purchase of Activision. Taken together, the removal of studios and the domino effect of cancellations created pessimism. Many gamers see these signs as the result of bad decisions by management and a focus on Game Pass that has not produced the expected returns. Alongside hardware, Microsoft has embraced multi-platform gaming. The most radical change came in 2024. Phil Spencer announced that several previously Xbox-exclusive games would be coming to PS5 and Switch. Titles such as Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, and Grounded, and later Doom, The Dark Ages, Indiana Jones, etc., are being ported to other consoles. This move represents a break with the old identity of Xbox. It is no longer about selling the console, but about selling the games. From within, they justify it as something positive. Craig Duncan, head of Xbox Game Studios, explained that they want their games to reach as many players as possible. According to him, it is good for gamers because it expands the audience. Phil Spencer, for his part, insists that there are no red lines. Any Xbox IP could come to PlayStation or Nintendo if it makes sense. The slogan, "This is an Xbox," illustrates this new approach. Xbox is no longer just a box, but an experience available on PC, cloud, mobile, and now even rival consoles. For better or worse, this dilutes the traditional notion of Xbox brand exclusivity. Faced with speculation about a possible abandonment of hardware, Microsoft has sent clear messages. Phil Spencer reaffirmed in November 2024 that we will definitely make more consoles in the future and other devices. However, he warned that the new Xboxes will only be one part of the market. The real growth comes from PCs, the cloud, and expanding our games to more places. In other words, Xbox will continue to manufacture consoles, with Sarah Bond promising that the next Xbox will be a technical revolution, but these will coexist with a service-focused model. Even Microsoft spokespersons have denied rumors that they would abandon consoles. For example, the company told one media outlet that there are no plans to retire Xbox, and that they continue to invest in their devices. In short, the official line is that Xbox is not dying, but evolving. It will maintain its hardware while strengthening its cloud services, xCloud, and subscription ecosystems, Game Pass, as strategic pillars. In the current battle, each platform has its pros and cons. Xbox maintains technical advantages. The Series X is the most powerful console on the market. The Series S offers a very inexpensive option for casual gamers, and backward compatibility is exemplary. Game Pass is another clear strength, offering a large catalog for a fixed fee. However, its weaknesses become apparent when comparing the lineup. Xbox lacks the top-tier exclusive franchises that set Sony or Nintendo apart. Its recent first-party releases, with the exception of Halo and Forza, have failed to capture the mass market. For its part, PlayStation excels in immersion and quality exclusives. Consoles such as the PS5 combine power with immersive effects, DualSense, and titles such as God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, and Final Fantasy XVI attract hardcore gamers. Sony continues to dominate global sales thanks to this formula, which means that for many, the PS5 is still king when it comes to exclusives. Nintendo, on the other hand, is in a different league. With Switch and its successor, Switch 2, it continues to focus on family and casual gaming. Its strength remains its evergreen exclusive catalog, Zelda, Mario, Metroid, and its hybrid versatility is attractive to families. Although its hardware does not compete in terms of power, Nintendo plays perpendicularly with broad audiences. In short, Xbox offers versatility and ecosystem, price, services, compatibility, but lags behind in the charisma of Sony or Nintendo franchises. PlayStation offers high graphics performance and big studios, but at a higher price. Nintendo, with its new Switch 2, reinforces its position as the unbeatable family option. Each brand today caters to different audiences. Xbox competes more with PCs and the cloud than directly with the PS5, although direct competition remains to force innovation across the board. The gaming community has reacted with skepticism on many fronts. Xbox's changes, closures, cancellations, price increases, have generated mistrust and unease. Many users feel that Microsoft is losing its identity by opening its games to other platforms and shifting its focus to the digital world. Successive increases in the price of Game Pass and the inability to use reward points to subscribe have been perceived as historic screw-ups by part of the fan base. All of this has fueled doubts about the future of the brand, even sparking rumors of a hypothetical abandonment of hardware. However, not all criticism is unanimous. Some point out that the stability of the Xbox player base, as Phil Spencer said, suggests solid engagement despite the decline in physical sales. In addition, analysts note that Microsoft's stock market health does not depend solely on Xbox. Following the negative news, Microsoft's shares rose 2%, driven by the AI business and confidence in the overall strategy. In other cases, non-Xbox users are celebrating Microsoft's commitment to serving its games more widely. Ultimately, public perception is divided. Many traditional gamers miss the days of defining exclusives, but others embrace the subscription and cloud gaming model as inevitable. The prevailing narrative in forums and social media has been more Xbox is still alive in the world of streaming than Xbox is dead, but many eyes will undoubtedly remain focused on the company's every future move. The evidence paints a complex picture. Xbox has lost its crown in console sales and sacrificed studios to focus on its ecosystem vision, but it has not been officially abandoned by Microsoft. As Satya Nadella said, Xbox will continue to exist, although no longer as the sole centerpiece, but as part of a mosaic between PCs, the cloud, and new devices. Phil Spencer insists that more consoles and other devices are coming, while the company flatly denies the idea of retiring Xbox. The final question remains open. Is this the end of Xbox as an exclusive platform, or simply the end of an era of traditional hardware? The answer depends on your perspective. If we measure by consoles sold, the future is uncertain. If we look at the overall strategy, Microsoft is aiming for a transformation. Xbox is not dying. It is reconfiguring itself towards global services. Ultimately, gamers will decide whether this new Xbox, less hardware, more services, and multi-platform, convinces them as a leading brand, or whether they long for the identity it once had.